Cardi B cries out loud after what Stefon Diggs revealed. The room was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes every breath feel heavier than the last. Cardi B sat curled on the edge of the couch, phone trembling in her hand, eyes fixed on the floor as if the truth might crack through the tiles if she looked long enough. She had laughed just minutes earlier, joking, scrolling, telling herself that whatever Stefon had to say couldn't possibly shake her. But when his message came through, long, careful, unmistakably serious, her smile evaporated. At first, she read it once. Then twice. Then a third time, slower, as if rearranging the words might soften their meaning. Stefon didn't sugarcoat it. He never did. He spoke about the pressure, how the public glare never blinked, how expectations followed him into the gym, into the locker room, into the quiet moments at night when the noise should have faded but didn't. He confessed that he'd been carrying doubts he was afraid to name out loud. Doubts about timing. About whether love could survive when both hearts were being pulled in opposite directions by careers, headlines, and the constant hunger of the internet for drama. Cardi felt it hit her like a wave. Her chest tightened, breath hitching as tears welled up fast and furious. She tried to stay composed, she always did, but this time her voice broke free. A raw, anguished cry tore from her throat, echoing off the walls. It wasn't the polished vulnerability fans knew. It was grief and shock and love colliding all at once. She remembered the late-night calls, the inside jokes, the way he'd listen when the world felt too loud. She remembered promises whispered softly, plans sketched in imagination more than ink. And now here was the truth, laid bare. Stefon wasn't walking away from love, he was questioning whether the life they were living left any room for it to breathe. Cardi stood, pacing, tears streaming down her cheeks as her hands shook. "Why now?" she cried, voice cracking. "Why like this?" Her heart felt exposed, every beat loud and unprotected. She wanted to scream at the ceiling, to rewind time, to bargain with fate the way only someone in love knows how. Stefon's words continued, gentle but firm. He spoke of needing clarity, of refusing to let resentment grow in silence. He admitted fear, fear of failing her, fear of becoming another headline, fear of losing himself while trying to be everything at once. It wasn't cruelty. It was honesty. And somehow, that made it hurt more. Cardi sank back down, sobs shaking her shoulders. She wasn't crying because he didn't care. She was crying because he did, and because caring sometimes meant admitting the hardest truths. The kind that don't end things cleanly but leave them suspended in a painful in-between. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. When the tears finally slowed, she wiped her face, breathing deep, steadying herself. Cardi B had faced storms before, public ones, private ones, the kind that threatened to swallow you whole. She knew heartbreak. She also knew resilience. With swollen eyes and a trembling resolve, she picked up the phone again. Not to argue. Not to perform. But to answer with the same honesty he had offered. Because if love was going to survive this moment, or even end with dignity, it would have to be real, unfiltered, and brave. And somewhere between the echoes of her cries and the quiet that followed, Cardi realized something devastating and powerful at once. This revelation didn't make her weak. It proved how deeply she could feel. And no matter what came next, reconciliation, distance, or goodbye, she would rise. From it, heart still beating, voice still strong, truth still hers. Cardi B cries out loud after what Stefon Diggs revealed. The room went silent in a way that felt heavy, almost suffocating. The kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes your heart beat louder than your thoughts. Cardi B sat frozen, her phone still glowing in her trembling hand, her eyes fixed on nothing, because what she had just heard didn't feel real. Moments earlier, laughter filled the space. Cardi was being herself, animated, expressive, joking through the stress of a long day. But all of that disappeared the second Stefon Diggs finally said the words he had been holding back. Words that would change everything. The confession that broke the moment. Stefon's voice wasn't rushed. It wasn't dramatic. That's what made it worse. He spoke slowly, carefully, as if choosing each word could somehow soften the blow. He admitted that for weeks, maybe even months, he had been battling doubts he never shared. Doubts about timing. About pressure. About expectations that came with loving someone as intense, public, and emotionally invested as Cardi. He wasn't saying he didn't care. He was saying he was afraid. Afraid of failing her. Afraid of the weight that came with being the man beside a woman the world constantly watches. Afraid that one wrong move could turn love into a headline and happiness into a meme. And then came the sentence that shattered her composure. I don't know if I'm strong enough to give you everything you deserve, not right now. Cardi's breaking point. At first, Cardi laughed, nervously. That reflex laugh people make when their heart is panicking but their mind hasn't caught up yet. Then her smile collapsed. Her eyes filled instantly. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak but couldn't. The silence returned, thicker than before, until suddenly she cried out loud. Not a soft cry. Not a controlled tear. A raw, painful scream of heartbreak. It echoed with every emotion she had been holding in: confusion, fear, love, disappointment, and vulnerability. Cardi covered her face with both hands, her shoulders shaking as sobs tore through her body. This wasn't about pride. This wasn't about ego. This was about love feeling uncertain. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Through tears, Cardi finally spoke. Her voice cracked as she asked the question that hurt the most. Why didn't you tell me earlier, before I gave you all of me? She wasn't accusing him of betrayal. She wasn't yelling in anger. She was pleading for honesty. Cardi admitted she had been sensing distance, the delayed replies, the distracted conversations, the moments where he felt present physically but emotionally miles away. She blamed herself. Thought she was doing too much. Thought love meant pushing harder instead of asking questions. Now she realized the truth had been there all along, unspoken. Stefon's silent tears. Stefon didn't interrupt her. He didn't defend himself. He listened. And as Cardi cried, his own eyes filled with tears. He admitted he stayed silent because he didn't want to hurt her. Because he feared that honesty would cost him everything. Because walking away felt easier than facing how deeply she loved. But watching her break in front of him made him realize something devastating. Silence hurts more than truth. Love under a microscope. For Cardi, the pain wasn't just personal, it was layered. Loving in the public eye means never suffering privately. Every emotion risks becoming gossip. Every tear risks becoming content. Every pause risks being misinterpreted. She confessed she was exhausted from being strong all the time. I just want someone who chooses me without fear, she cried. Not halfway. Not confused. Fully. That sentence alone carried years of emotional weight. What this moment really means. This wasn't a breakup. This wasn't a confirmation of the end. This was a collision between love and reality. Two people. Caring deeply, but standing at different emotional crossroads. One ready to leap. The other still learning how to stand without shaking. Whether they move forward together or apart, this moment will remain etched in memory, because it revealed something real beneath the fame, beneath the headlines, beneath the speculation. A woman who loved loudly. And a man who finally told the truth. After the tears. Uncertainty. When the crying stopped, nothing was magically fixed. No promises were made. No future was defined. Only one truth lingered in the air. Love alone isn't always enough, but honesty is the only place it can begin. And as Cardi wiped her tears, one thing was clear. Whatever happens next, nothing will ever be the same again. Broken heart.
도시가 보이곤 해. 그 도시에는 또 다른 내가 하늘에 떠가는 비행기를 올려다보고 있겠지. 난 하늘을 보고 또 다른 나는 아래를 쳐다보고 있겠지. 묘한 짜릿함 그 속에 머물다 보면 어느새 제주 행비행 신비한 세계로 나를 이끌고 거짓말처럼 하늘을 날며 어느새 제주 바다가 내게로 와 있네. 하늘을 보고 또 다른 나는 아래를 쳐다보고 있겠지. 묘한 짜릿함 그 속에 머물다 보면 어느새 제주 행비행 신비한 세계로 나를 이끌고 거짓말처럼 하늘을 날며 어느새 제주 바다가 내게로 와 있네. 난 구름 위를 날고 있어. 아래엔 간혹 도시가 보이곤 해. 그 도시에는 또 다른 내가 하늘에 떠가는 비행기를 올려다보고 있겠지. 난 하늘을 보고 또 다른 나는 아래를 쳐다보고 있겠지. 묘한 짜릿함 그 속에 머물다 보면 어느새 제주 행비행 신비한 세계로 나를 이끌고 거짓말처럼